Built this empire from the ground, never backing down, never bound. Two hearts, one vision, we stay true. In the thick of it, in the Phipps of it.
Welcome to In the Phipps of It. I'm Natasha Phipps.
And I'm Rodney Phipps.
Welcome to our podcast.
We're here to talk about life, love, our pursuit of authentic happiness.
We are married, we work together, we're parents to two amazing kids, and we hope you enjoy the show. Ready?
Ready. Welcome back.
So today we're going to talk about kind of women in business,
Yes.
women in the workforce,
Yes.
kind of thing.
I'll try to be quieter this time.
No. No, I think your perspective is important on this topic, though, but there's unique challenges women face.
Yes, I would say that is a very fair assessment.
It's interesting. Our daughter is 12, soon to be 13, and even just thinking about women as we're growing up, like into our high school years or those kind of really formative years, even puberty, let's say, it's like the fact that we have our periods, we still go to work, we still have to go to school, and there's this huge changing thing happening, and you kind of learn to just push through. And I think that thing carries through your whole life of like learning to push through and toughen it out and still show up and still be nice and polite and get your work done, and that you're like dying inside.
Yeah.
That's just one little example, I think, of, you know, raising a daughter that's like really front of mind for me right now. And like, that doesn't mean that boys don't have their own things they're going through. Of course they do. But this is a big fundamental difference.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this a little bit. There's an expectation or there's a idea around kids, right? They're kids, and then you're going to understand when you get older. It's going to change when you get older. Mm-hmm. It's going to be this different like perspective, and it really isn't.
Yeah.
Like you see these things from a young age, an expectation put on like our daughter that's different than our son.
Yeah.
You see it very early. Different responses, different expectations, different feedback loops, and they start very early.
Yeah.
And they go for the rest of your life from everything that I've seen.
Two big things that kind of happen at this age for women and girls, and I think almost every woman will probably agree with me. Might be some arguments against this, but there's the biological changes that are happening, of course, that are hard to deal with. And then there's the, like you said, the feedback from the world.
Yeah.
And you see very differently even how boys react to her now, and men even. There's just this change of how the world is looking at you differently as you're like growing into a woman.
Yeah.
And that is really hard to explain to the opposite sex, maybe if they're not paying attention, or if they have daughters of their own. I think then maybe they will start to see it a little bit more. I don't know. You've always been aware of it, but...
Yeah, I think you're seeing this, I don't know, you want to
like,
call it a movement, but the girl dad thing.
Yeah.
Which just seems like just an evolutionary process of more men witnessing firsthand what was kind of always there.
Yeah.
I was fortunate. I was raised by a pretty kick-ass mom, was never hid any from me. She was very about the dynamics that existed. There was no hidden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So very, very young, I was able to sort of see the perspective. We'll get all these examples, I think, as we go. But I've just recognized it from the girl dad movement, where you see more men around our age, even a little younger, and they're proud of being a girl dad. But it's also that you're starting to see this like kind of like, oh, well, there's a different playing field, and there's some different expectations, and I don't really want my daughter to have to deal with some of this shit.
Right, but they are.
But they are. Then it's the balance of, okay, and it's not, there is a playing field that exists. We have to live still within it and incrementally, hopefully, change the playing field. But our daughter's playing in it, and that's nothing that we can change.
No.
So then it's an expectation, and it's how do you prepare and how do you deal with those things?
Yeah, and the feedback loop from the world we can't control, of course. We can control what we are doing. One interesting thing, even I talked to really about this very recently, about like there's a lot of debate about what young girls should be wearing. Should they be allowed to be wearing, tight clothes or short shorts or sports bras or whatever? And well, two things. If you have a problem being around that, I think you're the problem.
Yes.
First of all. Second of all, it isn't whether she should or shouldn't. It's that is she prepared to understand what might come back to her in that feedback if she's wearing a low cut top or a short shorts or whatever. And I think that should be the conversation around like, is this something you feel you're ready to deal with? Do you want to deal with this? Because some days you just don't want to.
Yep.
And her more that way rather than be like, you can't wear this or you can't do this, because that doesn't help.
Yes.
It doesn't change anything.
Yeah. And if you're sexualizing someone under the age of 18, that's a you problem.
Yeah. 100%.
That is not a kid problem.
Yeah.
It is
not
a you problem. That's extension of victim blaming. And I think we're getting a better understanding. And that's a hot topic as well, which the perspective and it's nuanced and all those sort of things. But the responsibility has to be on the person committing the behavior.
Absolutely.
That is across the board. I don't care what it is about. If it's about what we're talking about now, if it's about abuse, whatever it might be, it's generally the responsibility of the person committing the behavior.
Yeah.
Now, that's a very in-depth conversation as well, but it goes to that like boys will be boys, which is horseshit.
Yeah.
Boys will not be boys.
Yeah.
Boys are taught to be boys.
Yeah.
And respect, self-control, understanding, those are all things. That doesn't take away from masculinity. It doesn't take away from you being a man. It's just an expectation. And I think part of the girl dad culture is recognizing there is lines, there is things that we can be a little bit more aware of.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that by being aware of those lines, that makes you less of a man. It just means being more aware. That's it, I think.
Yeah.
In its most basic sense.
Being more aware. And I think just like letting girls be girls, right? Like you can be modest and still be feminine. You can be showing your skin and not like it doesn't really matter. Everyone's going to kind of do what they're going to do, but how we're receiving it and how we're talking about it is a problem. I'm very aware of the words that I'm using about what she's wearing, more so that she's comfortable and that it's working for her and that it's in terms of like function, if it's sports or something like that. But it's really, it's kind of like this swearing thing. Yeah. Like if you're wearing skimpy clothes, you just need to understand what, are you ready and prepared for what, how the world may react to you? Not necessarily that you're doing anything wrong. Yeah. Because you're not doing anything wrong. Is that something you want? And maybe you do and maybe you don't. And you just got to be ready that you may have to handle that. Yeah.
And that leads into a safety issue, which is also a very huge difference between men and women. You never hear about a female or a male realtor that was assaulted at a showing or attacked or sexually assaulted. It is always a female. Yeah. That is overwhelmingly that way. And we all know why. We don't need to get into that. That starts at a young age. Our daughter has to be more aware of where she goes, houses she stays at. We need to be more aware of the parents.
How she's getting places.
Being alone, always having somebody with her. Our son, oblivious. Now, part of it is he's, huge. So someone trying to grab him, then good luck. But that's not the truth. That's not why he's oblivious. It's because there's a different it's a different playing field. So it starts at her age, but it goes all the way to you at your age. Communicating when you're going to showings, communicating where you're at, having to track these things and making sure I know all the time where you're at. And then, so safety, that's a big part of it. And then the next after that's, I think most people are aware that's just a,
I think most
people are aware.
And certainly things have gotten better. Like, and some things have gotten better. Some things have gotten more difficult with how easy it is to track people and find people. And, like where you're posting, like that new Instagram feature that just shows your location now. I have that turned off. There was an update and it just would show your location at all times. It's like, I don't want people to know where I am all the time. Yeah. So as we're growing up, as women are growing up, by the time 18, I mean, being very aware of safety and that like the kind of just the biology of what you're going through and what women are going through every day and still having to show up at school and life and all these things while still being in these very challenging situations. Like I think women are so freaking tough. Yeah. Women are so tough what we have to go through by 18. Okay. So then we enter the workforce or school or whatever that is. And I think that kind of grit and toughness is what makes women so incredible as well in the workforce and business. But there is unique challenges for sure. And things have certainly improved, but they're not necessarily gone as of today. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that even in our lifetime, we've seen adjustments and pendulums swing and they can swing too far the other way and
yes, for
things
sure.
overcorrect and those are hot button topics as well. But as things have gotten better, as you say, things have also changed, like how we're presenting and what the expectations, because then safety is great. We understand that safety is a concern, and it starts at age younger and goes through your rest of your life. And then
take the bear.
Yeah, take the bear. Why is that such a hot topic? And that pisses a lot of men off, and they take it very personal.
Yeah.
First of all, if you're taking it personal, I'm sorry, but maybe that's time for self-reflection, right? I don't take it personally when a woman says take the bear. I also am not threatening anybody, but I don't blame anybody for taking the bear. And I don't go, oh, that's now an attack on me. So if you're personalizing it,
I'm assuming everyone listening knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, basically, if you're going to be alone with if you have to choose to be alone with a random man or the bear, I don't know what overwhelming percentage of women choose the bear.
Yeah.
And the sexual assault component of that is a huge factor.
Yeah.
The bear is just going to kill you. And that's a fucking crazy response that someone has to go, at least I'm just going to die with the bear. And if you're someone that's getting upset by that, if you're a male or woman, that should register. Like, that's the concern around that. That should be something that you're concerned about representing. Presenting an angry response or taking that personally, guilty conscience, I'm not going to say it's that, but So,
well, and like things have gotten better, but still look at the amount of missing Indigenous women in this country.
Yeah,
like
I know.
It's vanishing every day, and there's not a lot being done about it, really. So sure, some things are better, but it's definitely still happening, and safety is definitely still a concern every day. When you're alone, how I move about the world when I'm alone or when we're together is very different. Or if I have Brinley with me or whatnot, like it just is, and that becomes sort of inherent.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of data if you want to look into it. This is not just an opinion thing. The huge, overwhelming amount of sexual assaults still go unreported. Yeah. And there's a whole reason why. We'd have a whole podcast just about that, about the process, about the law, about the things someone has to go through to report it, and the stigma that comes with those sort of things. But it's overwhelming, the data.
It's awful.
And yes, there are false accusations, and I think we both agree that a false accusation does more harm for the whole thing than the good. So if anybody's upset about false accusations, it's actual victims. So that's it. But overwhelmingly, more people are being assaulted and unreported than people being falsely accused. So that's we can just leave that there. But that just shows that there's a lot of data to support safety is still a very clear and present issue. But what we can do then is go, okay, we understand that. We're trying to figure those things out. Hopefully the more proud girl dads are out there are also raising their sons to be aware and to be self-controlled. And just because someone's wearing a skimpy shirt does not mean that gives you it's just open season.
No.
Like that's crazy. That's crazy that's even an excuse, boys will be. I don't think a lot of this can vary regionally specific. Like I think in Calgary, that's maybe a little different than in some places in the world, and that's
there is
it's a very regional specific. So we're talking about our region and our space, and that's great. But I think that rolls also now into expectations. The expectation of how you behave, how you respond to things, how you respond to people talking to you, how you resolve conflict, the smile thing. I mean, Brinley, our daughter,
smile thing.
In her just a couple years ago, she had a female principal lecturing them. This was grade school. Lecturing them, the girls specifically, about smiling. You need to smile more. You need to be happy.
That was horrifying.
This is, it's horrifying on another level. Now, as someone that's mentally challenged, if someone told me when I'm not prepared to smile, it's on. Like so to have that expectation of women more so than men is also a crazy one.
Yeah.
And I fortunately, my mom was very good about, I remember her responding to people openly in public. And this is as a child and a teenager, when people would be like, why aren't you smiling? Why aren't you smiling? Or you should smile. Or police officers even, like giving her a ticket.
Yeah.
And her just being like, fuck off. And I
that's
love that response.
Yeah, that's
and I think it's a very important response. But why does that expectation exist for you and not necessarily for me?
Well, and how that translates in the workforce, especially if you are trying to climb the corporate ladder or something like that, how that translates is you need to just suck it up a lot. And if you are someone who is, I tend to be very direct. I'm direct in my communications, especially if I'm like in a state of work. I'm like, on to the next thing. I'm very direct. I'm very to the point, and I'm not necessarily warm and fuzzy, and I'm very aware of that, and I've tried to work on it, but it's also like how that would be received differently if I was a man versus me doing it.
Yeah.
And I would imagine if I was in the corporate world, that would probably be an issue because it wouldn't be received as well, but certainly can be like it's not, you're basically being a bitch. Right?
I was just going to say, it's bitchy.
It's bitchy. It's like, like
Snobby.
tone it. Yeah. And really that's not what it is, but it can certainly be.
Well, and if it was me, it would be confident and direct and, with authority or whatever, nonsense. And we've seen this firsthand. And so obviously this is a test case of the two of us, but I think there's pretty clear data that supports this as well. This is not just a you situation. You find often men enjoy working with you because of that directness. Like they're clear. I don't have to guess. And often, not all the time in either of these things, but often women can be like, well, it's too direct. It's too uncomfortable. It's too intimidating, you know? And that's an unfortunate thing. But
I've learned to just tell people, like if I'm very direct or I send a couple sentence email without having to say formalities here, and then when we send 6 emails a day, we don't need to do that, right? But now I've just had conversations with people about like, this is kind of what you can expect. And you also don't need to do that to me. And often that's like a relief to people. It's like, I'm also taking that off you. Just send me what you need to send me and we'll move on to the next thing, right? We don't need to have these formalities of niceness in every detail of communication when we're communicating all day long.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's different if you haven't heard from me in 6 months. Like that's a very different thing. But when you're working together and you have this much communication, it's okay to just be like, to the point, let's get things done.
Exactly. And directness does not mean it's disrespectful. That can be
that's still a really please strange, and thank you.
Still all the basic formalities, still showing concern, still asking how you are and wanting to hear an answer, not just doing it as a formula. And so I think that can also be misconstrued as just because it's direct doesn't mean it's not being respectful or it's being kind. Like you can be direct and kind. These things get misconstrued. And when you can take off that layer and let's just get to it, that can be refreshing. It can also be intimidating for certain people.
Yeah.
So this is like everything we talk about.
That's why it's nice to have the conversation about.
And everything we talk about, this is no hard and fast, which is a crazy thing. People go, oh, because you think that, it's there all the way. And it has to be this. No, there are going to be times when there's going to be more emotion required and more pieces that come to that. But the expectation for the two of us, I have a resting bitch face. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
It's commented on. I'm not as approachable. I'm not as approachable. I
tend to cross your.
I'm militantly polite. I was raised by my grandmother that way, my mother that way, very polite, but it comes with a more dour expression.
Right.
And I'm much more allowed to be that way than you are.
Yeah.
You are much better at connecting with people on that first step. Our neighbors, you've probably talked to more people in our neighborhood than I have, even though I walk the dogs, like little things like that. But the expectation on the two of us is very different. You know, no one walks up to me and goes, why aren't you smiling? You know, which would be a hilarious conversation, but it just doesn't. Whereas you will get that still. You know, and comments and feedback about that, which is, I think we could probably have a whole podcast about Smile More. So we're kind of just touching on it. But we've seen it for our daughter. We've seen it through you. I've seen it through my mother. You've seen it for your mother. I'm sure our grandmothers have had to deal. I can only imagine what they had to deal with. So thankfully, each generation, it seems to be getting a little bit stronger awareness. There's so many things that are rapidly changing as far as the human being's awareness for what's actually going on, and then sharing of information and sharing of experience and all those things. So as a whole, it's certainly much better. But that doesn't mean that it's gone. No. And it doesn't mean that it has to change tomorrow. It's not like it's just this super unjust, unfair. It's just the playing field is different.
What it is. That is the playing field. This isn't about complaining about the playing field. It's like, this is what it is. And there's a lot of benefits that women have, you know, in terms of, I think, their resiliency and their kind of grit because of the things we have to deal with, and just how aware most women are. Women are very aware and observant because of a lot of the factors we just talked about. So those are tools that you can use that help you, right? Yep. Like being aware of what's going on, being observant, all of those things are good tools when you're in a setting. So now, I think one big challenge in the workforce still today too is the amount of women at a higher level in business. So we've gone to the Wealth Professional Awards now once. We're going again there this year in Toronto, and I was in a category about female trailblazers in our industry. And other than that category, most of the categories predominantly are men. I know the CEO of the Year award, it was all men, which, doesn't take away from the men, but it's like it does show that there's just not as many women getting to that level, right? And so why is that? That's the struggle, because that can feel like a bit of a big hill to climb.
Yeah, and I think that if there is certain underlying metrics that are starting to show that shift may be coming more.
Yeah.
There's more women in grad school than ever before. There are actually more women than men currently. I know there's sort of a question around masculinity, and there's this whole toxic male thing, and that's we'll get into that, and these influencers that are putting forward nonsense. But there is changes that are happening, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we even down to some hilarious levels where like we go to the bar and we'll see 20-year-olds, it's the women buying the men drinks now, which is okay, like whatever. And chivalry, and those are other conversations we can get into later. But like you can see there are underlying things that are changing. And so that we'll see in the coming decade, we'll see as more people like you and your colleagues that are doing some incredible things are slowly shifting that playing field. And the hope is that at a certain point, it's not, wow, you're successful for a woman.
Yeah.
It's just you're successful or you're effective, not effective for a woman, but just effective.
You've done a good job.
And we're getting closer to that.
Yeah,
you're seeing more of it. We're seeing even how you've been referenced to by colleagues and by people in industry as not, oh, wow, this woman, Natasha. It's this great CEO, Natasha. And those little changes matter. Those little distinctions matter. But even in your life, you've been at brokerages where there was an article about women in the workforce and your male broker decided he had to write it for you.
This is not my current broker.
No, this is not the previous broker. I mean, how insane is a moment like that? This is not that detached from current standards.
No, that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes, one of a few.
And that's a really good example of it's like, you're smart enough to do so much. It's like, you can do this much, but if you try to go this much now, that's a little too much. Yeah. And it's like, where is that line? And that's the line you can feel with people where it's like, well, now you've pushed it a little too far. Yeah. It's like, let me do that for you. Yeah. That's moving into my territory now,
exactly.
Or something I should be doing.
And
that's a higher level of intellect is required here.
Right.
And that's what's really frustrating. That's maybe what, drives me crazy the most. But honestly, it is what motivates me.
Yes, and that's good.
It doesn't get under my skin the way it used to. It more drives me.
And everybody needs their own motivators for their own separate rule set and the thing that they want to do with their life. And I think so we know that there's the life experiences, the safety, the expectations. Those are all different things. But I think it all leads to the most important thing with all of this is autonomy. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about your experiences and our daughter's experiences, our mother's experience, grandmother's experience. But the number one hope I have for both of us, our kids, both our daughter and our son, and everyone entering whatever space they want to do is autonomy. Mm-hmm. Like if a woman wants to be a career woman, great. If she doesn't, great. That is whatever you decide is in an ideal world, each person has the autonomy to choose the path and choose the life that they want that fits them. We talk about hustle culture and the influences that puts on people and the expectations. If you don't want to be part of hustle culture, don't fucking be a part of it. Yeah. If you want to be a stay-at-home parent, be a stay-at-home parent. Mm-hmm. If you can make it work, great. Yeah. So what you decide for you is not an expectation for anybody else. Mm-hmm. But when there is a social expectation that comes with a social expectation for women and a social expectation for men, that infringes on autonomy, and that can infringe on the expectations. It can infringe on all those sort of things.
Yeah, I do think as a parent, and this is something, looking back, I know I definitely had this conversation with my mom in terms of autonomy. If you want to be all those things, great. But I do think us as individuals, male or female, should have the basic capability of taking care of ourselves, of being able to stand on our own 2 feet the best we can, and thinking about a lot of women don't even have their own credit cards. Yeah. Like having your name on the card in your husband's account is not the same as you having your own card. No. And so those basic things that you need to be, things happen in life. You need to know if, shit happens, divorce happens, loss happens, things happen, that you can at least stand on your own 2 feet in terms of the basics. Yeah. And I think that's where we're getting to. But it's not even that long ago women, didn't have credit cards. Like that wasn't even a thing, I think maybe in the 80s. I don't know. Yeah. It hasn't been really that long. So fast forward 40 or 50 years and we're still seeing this like education need to happen on just the basic fundamentals of what every person should have.
Yeah, and that goes for men as well. Like you have to understand that same autonomy to stand on your own 2 feet and figure things out.
Yeah.
The joke, 50 years ago, my grandfather didn't know how to cook a thing.
Exactly.
Right? He didn't do his own laundry. He didn't do any of those things. He was not self-reliant at all. And I don't think that that's nearly the case on an average house-by-house basis now. But when we talk about sharing the load, sharing expectations in the house, worrying about if you have 2 people that are working, well, then you're balancing chores, you're balancing all those sort of things. But each individual needs to be able to handle all of the things.
Yeah.
Because anything could happen anytime people get sick.
Things
I could
happen.
walk down the street, get hit by a car tomorrow.
Yes.
You could, there's even in a perfect relationship, things can go wrong.
Yeah.
So you still need to be able to understand all those things, and that's what gives autonomy. And that doesn't mean you can't have reliance on your partner and there can't be a balance, but you have to understand those things. And that push for a woman to be able to have her own credit card and understand the finances, that doesn't mean then that men shouldn't also be doing that.
No, yeah, and it absolutely goes both ways. It just is, in terms of the actual finances, that's been more the history of it. But it goes the other way too. Yeah. Like being able to do the chores around the house. How do you do these things? And that's the way things are going, which is good to see. But tying that kind of back to entrepreneurship, all these are reasons why I also really wanted to be self-employed. I didn't want to hit those sort of roadblocks, but I hit different roadblocks too. So there is roadblocks either way, but I don't know how we can kind of tie this back to our theme of entrepreneurship.
I think it all just does. I think it all does because, like we're saying, it starts from a young age, right?
Yeah.
Like all of this ties into who you are as an entrepreneur. There's expectations, there's safety, there's standards, there's how you present every day, what you have to do on an average day as an entrepreneur that sets the table different than I do. We talk about equality, and this goes for race, color, creed, everything. Equality means everybody starting at the same starting line. So whatever you're going through on a day is the same as what I'm going through on a day. And if I'm getting a half a step even an advantage, that's not equality. And I think equality can sometimes feel like pulling down on other people, and I don't think that that's true. And I don't think that's when it's done properly. I think there's a lot of disenfranchised people out there, men, that feel like, oh, equality means I don't get this or I'm not getting that. No, it just means we're trying to get everybody starting from the same spot.
Yeah.
Whatever the inequality issues are.
Yeah.
And we're getting much closer to that. But there is still a slight difference. Yeah. There is still, when I walk out the door and when you walk out the door, the expectations are slightly different. Maybe it's not as huge a difference as it once was, but that doesn't mean that that difference isn't there.
Well, I think
it also doesn't mean that that's okay for what is now.
Yeah.
Change doesn't happen in jumps. It happens properly, incrementally.
Yeah. What I've noticed too in situations or teams or groups or business environments or conferences or all these kinds of things we've gone to, if I'm surrounded by predominantly men and it's a new group and I'm kind of new to the space, it's like I got to earn my spot to be there still very much. And it's like, oh, but once I get in there, it's like, oh, like
once you settle,
you can hang.
Yeah.
I've heard that many times. Like, oh, it's okay. Yeah. Like, we can still talk about golf and whatever else sports. It's like whatever the hell they want to talk about, right? It's like just because there's a female there doesn't mean we need to change everything we're doing.
Right.
It's like, but you kind of I have to earn that a little bit and have gotten that feedback back many times. But it's like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now you're in the crew here. It's okay. And that's just the way it is. And that's the playing field. And I don't really expect differently than that, but that's how it is. It's just kind of like one example that.
Yeah, and that's a good kind of tie off because that goes into a separate conversation we'll have at another point, which is the world exists the way it exists, and everyone has to respond to it the way they can and the way that fits for them. So when there's language, when there's conversations, like you have a choice to either let it bother you or not let it bother you.
Yeah.
Respond or not respond. Whatever your decision is, that's important that you're doing it for you, but you have to, hopefully you're thinking about why you're responding, or is it how you're receiving it based on something that is challenging for you, or is it an overreaction or whatever it might be? And that's a whole nother side of things. And that's the same for everybody. Like if, whatever it might be, but your ability to hang.
Yeah.
That part comes with your ability to decide what you're going to be bothered by and what you're not.
Yeah.
And so the playing field is what it is. We can have our thoughts, our concerns, and our issues and feelings about it, but we still have to exist within it. Mm-hmm. And then that goes into personal accountability and presence and all those things that we'll get much more into at a later date. I think that's probably, unless there's anything else you'd like to add.
No, I think that's great.
I think we got into it for now. Tried to be as quiet as I could. Not perfect.
Until next time.
Yeah, talk to you next time.
Built this empire from the ground, never backing down, never bow. Two hearts, one vision, we stay true. In the thick of it, in the Phipps of it.